Hello, everyone. Joining us today is a very special guest and a powerhouse, Adeline Tatum. Her journey has been very inspiring from Belize to the US, conquering every obstacle along her way. Adeline has truly redefined what it means to make a mark as an international student. Her story is that of resilience, innovation, and relentless pursuit of excellence. Before diving in, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, feel free to express your thoughts about what your journeys look like or have been so far. If you find this episode to be helpful, do not forget to share it with someone who might require that extra boost of inspiration today. Hey Adeline, welcome to my podcast. It's
Hi,
so
Shreya.
It's so special to have you here today, and especially like our journey goes back to like my first month here in the US, and it feels so special that I can do this and host you on my podcast today. So I just want to like ask you, how are you feeling about this?
I am excited. I'm excited about the podcast. Excited about you and your growth in America. I'm excited to hear that you have a podcast. Like, this is fantastic. And the topic and the content that you're sharing is so important.
Yeah, and I just wanted to like for all the listeners who are listening to this podcast right now, I want to provide them with some context. So I wanted to start right like from where we met. So from what I remember, the first time I met you was at the orientation day of USC ITS, where I was working during my on-campus job. And since that day, you have been exceptionally warm and supportive towards me. And I remember the way you delivered the talk in your presentation that you were giving all the new hires and how motivational that was. And although I was like far away from home at that point, I felt so connected and I felt like, oh, I did have someone here, although I was listening to you speak for the first time. So I want to know from you, like, what did it mean for you to mentor and be a part of multiple international students' journey through being a professional who was working at ITS back then?
So, great question. I think it's my purpose. I really enjoy working with people, but most of all, students. Um, I've been a teacher for almost 2 decades, if not already 2 decades. And that experience, being able to transmit and share information, for me is what each of us need. Just being able to have individuals know that you care and you're there to support them. We're not on this journey alone, especially like you said, in our department then at USC when I was there, we hire a lot of international students. So me and my background coming from an international country, and we'll talk more about that later, I know when you don't have that support system, how culture shock it can be traveling so far from home. So that experience for me was just my way of saying, I'm here to support you. You're not alone.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I surely felt that, and I'm sure multiple students like me did too, because I know the kind of relationship that you had with them, and I was there to witness it. But yeah, I mean, you've been such an integral part of multiple students' lives, and I'm sure that no matter where they are today in their respective lives, they'll always remember you and the contribution that you made to their lives as a mentor, as a teacher, like whatever you were in their life at that point. But yeah, so I want to go back to your roots because this is a really interesting topic that you touched upon, that you too were an international student. So I know that you come from a place called Belize. So I would like you to take the stage and like tell us more about what is Belize, what were your roots like, and I know that you pursued information technology back then when it was not a big thing. So, how did you reach that particular decision and what made you pursue information technology in Belize?
So I am originally In Belize, we would say my navel string is buried in Honduras. I'm from Guanaja, Honduras. But I grew up in Belize and I did all of my education in Belize. I pursued my associate at the University of Belize in computer science. And 3 years later, I was like, okay, at this point, I was hired at the University of Belize. I was the computer lab supervisor. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be at this level. I want to move up. I want to go higher. So while I was actually a supervisor, I was pregnant with my daughter. I pursued my information technology, bachelor's in information technology there. And it took me 3 years because I did it part time and I worked. However, upon pursuing that degree and receiving that degree, I was asked by my alma mater high school because they had like a 6 month vacancy. One of their teachers went on what we call long leave in Belize. After 10 years, you get a 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, you get 6 months like break for your service. And they were like, hey, you just completed your degree. Would you want to come and try this out? And I'm like, okay, let me look into this. So it was like the university agreed to have me go over and teach for 6 months. And I ended up liking it and I enjoyed it. And I ended up staying and teaching until I transitioned to the US, which was because I received my residency. Um, and that's how I end up in the US. Because back in Belize, it's a little jewel, for those that don't know, that is hidden in Central America. It's between Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. So it's right there.
Yeah, and like I came to know more about Belize from you. So thank you for explaining the geographic location so beautifully because I don't think I would have done a good job at that. My geography sucks. But yeah, like your journey when you left from Belize to come to the US, what were your thoughts? Were you like scared or were you like all prepared for this new journey? Like, what were the feelings that you were feeling back then? Because I know as an international student, when I was leaving from India, I was sad. I was like, my life has been here for the last 20, 22 years. How am I going to go to this country and just make it home? But like, how was it for you?
So I must say my journey was a bit different. I grew up with my dad saying, America is the land of the free. He strongly believed in educating us to all his children. He worked really hard. He was a shrimp boat or a trawler boat captain. So he was the captain of a boat. So he was pretty much well off. We were at like the medium of lifestyle. And he it's six of us and he said, everyone that wants to go to school, I'll pay for it. My dad paid for us to go to school if you wanted to go. So I'm so grateful. And I shout out my dad and my mom because, of course, she had to be there to support him. Um, so coming to America, transitioning in, I had my mom, my dad, my brother, little and elder brother here already. So the transition was a little bit different for me. I had my status, so I was resident already. I had family members that I was coming to that was going to support me. I had a home. So my transition was a bit different. However, there was still some culture shock that I encountered that I wasn't used to.
Mm,
So that's where my emotional aspect, I must say, was like changed or like I felt not included.
mm,
Um, because for instance, when you drive on the street and I saw people sleeping on the street, homeless,
mm,
we don't have that in Belize. As much as we're a third world country, we don't have people sleeping on our streets. You would take your family member and build a house at the back of your house and make sure they're there. So and that is still a culture shock for me in this country. Like America, the wealthiest, I call it the wealthiest country, and you have people sleeping on the street, like it messes with me. It messes with me so much. But now I'm getting used to it. I'm learning that some of them don't want to be, I know all the ins and out now. So
mm,
it's a little bit different, still culture shock but different. So yeah, my transition was a bit different. But at the same time, I still needed support, right? Because I had my daughter that came with me. I had my daughter at that time, she was 8. And so both of us transitioning in, so I had to get support for her, getting her in school. Remember now, I left a completely perfect life
Yeah.
because I've always been independent. I was a teacher. I taught at the university as an adjunct faculty, information technology. I taught at the high school full time. I had my car. I had my house. I was leaving all of that behind to come to this great country that my dad always told us, the land of the free. I'll get you guys to get your education. I'm gonna get you guys to America, and you will live the life. All, all that we see on the television, right?
Yes.
But it's
Like,
so different.
I mean, what you hear, and when you come here, there are definitely a lot of differences in terms of your experiences and then how you feel about this place in general. It can differ for everyone, but I
Mhm,
personally like relate to you to a great extent because, like, before coming here, all that I saw on Instagram or like any social media was all hyping up this place. And then when I land here, there are some things that don't turn out the way they're projected to be, and that's when I'm like, oh, but it's not what everyone thinks it is. Because
mhm,
everyone back home is like, oh, wow, you're studying in LA. And that must be so cool, right? Yeah, I mean, Hollywood is just 10 minutes away, but there is also the downtown LA that you can't go to in the night. So, like, I mean, it
mhm.
is a double edged sword, but yeah,
It is. That's a good way to put it. It is a double-edged sword. Let me give you an example. So back home, I could walk into the bank and say, "Hey, I want a loan. I want this. I want that." Like I was on top of my game. Came here and didn't know that you need credit to buy a car. So my first 6 months, almost a year in this country without a car was devastating.
yeah.
I left my nice car home that I paid for to come here. So just to give you ideas of, I did went through challenges despite having my family here to support me. There was just certain things that I am used to or were used to that, hey, here in America it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and definitely, I think like transportation is also such a big deal here, right? Like, unless you own your own private vehicle, it's very difficult to rely on public transport, especially in some particular states. Like, I know New York has a very well connected like subway system, but it's not for LA because the places are so far apart that you need to have your own vehicle. So I can imagine how tough it must be, and also with having your daughter who was just 8 years back then, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
But
and she's not used to catching a bus. She's used to let's get in the car and we go. So
yeah,
that was a culture shock for her as well. Like, Mom, how come we don't have a car anymore? I'm like,
yeah,
well, so my brother, he was very nice. Him and his wife, they really took good care of us. Sometime he would be, okay, I'm not using my car. We want to go out. They would let me use the car, and then we go.
yeah. And I mean, I heard you discuss about your challenges, and somewhere in between, you did mention that you didn't feel included. And that is something I relate with a lot when you said that. So, can you like dive a little deeper into that? What do you mean, like, not feel included after coming here?
Um, when I speak about not feeling included, it was just for me the fact that I applied to many different places, despite having a bachelor's degree, having teacher experience, having other experience outside of um, teaching. I had higher ed experience. Because my first job I landed was at the University of Belize for 5 years as the computer lab supervisor. And besides having that, along with a degree, along with years of teaching experience, landing a job in one of the schools that I really wanted to be in didn't happen. However, I am grateful for where I landed. I landed at a middle school. No, I started at a high school. I started at a high school, inner city, what is it called? Inner city charter education foundation, so ISA. And that really showed me landing there that because I was considered a minority, which I was not aware of, because we don't look at the color of our skin in my country, was the reason why the other institutions or places that I applied for a position, I did not receive it because I'm considered a minority. And then it
Mm.
gets a little bit more twisty and a little bit more difficult. Back then, I didn't understand it, but I do now. To see how the eye and how we are categorized when you come from another country or you weren't a born American. Like, I'm a citizen, but I'm not considered an American. And I will go to my grave with that because that's the way I'm looked at. You know, unless you're born here, you're not.
Yeah, and I mean, I can consider you like what you're saying because you what you just said in a line was such a deep point that although on paper you are a citizen of this country, you can't really change the way people perceive you or the kind of prejudice they have in their minds about people looking a certain way, and that is going to hamper some opportunities for you whether you like it or not, and that's really
Hmm.
tough to digest when you are doing everything from your side but cannot succeed just because of hindrances like this.
Hmm. So true. Such a true statement because there will be hindrances, there will be situations. And if you're coming to this country and knowing these things, you have some awareness and consciousness behind it, you're able to handle it better. I didn't have any awareness, any consciousness. So it always hit me so hard, so
Yeah.
hard. Like people would look at me now and think like, oh, she just have a perfect life. No, I don't. I went through it all. I've been in this country going on 12 years. And trust me, despite having a support system, like I said, which is very important. So if you're coming and you don't have family here, find a support system. Find people that have been through it, like yourself. You know, reach out to people that you know went to the university or wherever, where you're going to work. Find people within your culture that will be able to support you. And what I ask those people is, be open and honest with me. Share your experience, share your story with them. So if they go through it, they can see that, or they can say, I have some awareness around that. Before it even happened, like, okay, this is what I should do. Or let me contact Shreya, let me contact Adeline. What would you do in this case? I think the more we could support each other coming from international will always be better. It will give the person coming along a better experience, the one that we wanted. For me, it just blesses my heart. It just fills my spirit if I could help. So,
Yeah, and I agree with you when you said that if people who have had experiences that have been, tough, and when they support others whom they see in the same experiences, that is going to be so uplifting because it's going to create a community that is going to be like, oh, I was there and I'm going to, guide you out of there or guide you to a better place from there. But I feel unfortunately like, especially like people who were there around me at that point, like when I came in my first semester, it wasn't like anyone was that supportive. They were all competing because I know everyone's here for a particular reason, trying to achieve their, academic goals, financial goals, whatever it might be. They've come to this particular country, leaving behind their house for a particular reason. But then in that kind of pursuit, they are missing out on just being nice, kind, and just being there for people. So yeah, I would totally urge people, whoever are listening and have the opportunity to support someone who's new to this place, to be as informative and helpful as you can be, because there are small things. I still remember like when I got down on the American airport, I didn't have a phone or a SIM, which was American. I did not have a credit card or a debit card here. So I had to open all of that. And until then, I had to literally ask one of my seniors to book a lift for me so that I could just get till USC. So, I mean, you need people to support you in small things, but you'll never forget those people because you'll remember them for your life. Like when I landed here, this was the person who helped me book a lift. So those are the things that are also memories that will last a lifetime. But yeah, I agree with you.
So true. They like to say the little things that we do for people can be a big thing for them. And I definitely know that's true.
And there's also a saying which says that people might forget like how you look, how much you earn, or but they'll never forget how you made them feel when you interacted with them. And that is
Hmm.
what I really feel about you, because whenever anyone interacts with you, the feeling, like that warm, fuzzy feeling of being home, is what they're left with, like after that interaction. And that is what matters, right? Like when you're trying to find your people in this country, that really counts. But yeah, so I have so many more questions to ask you. Like you mentioned that you came to the US, you had your brother's support, had your daughter who was 8 years old. What did the next 5 or 10 years of your life look like if you were to like cover some major milestones that you did? Because I know you did a master's, I know you did a doctorate. So there was nothing stopping you, although you had a lot going on the sidelines. So would you like to tell us something about that?
Sure. I can share a little bit. But first of all, thank you for your kind words. For me, whenever I step through the door, before I step through the door, I am not putting this on anyone, but I am a Christian and I believe in prayer. So I just want to thank God because for me, I always say, use me as your light and let me shine. Let me be a blessing to someone else. So if that's how I make you feel, that's all that bless me to be a blessing to you and everyone I encounter. Um, and to answer your question, basically, if I could give you like a mini story of my 5 years, first 5 years in this country. So I worked at ISEF charter school. I was a physical education teacher, and then I was able to transition my teaching credential from Belize, and I got my teacher's license to teach technology. That was like 4 years after arriving in the country. Oh, the process was so long through the through the teachers commission. That's a whole new story by itself. We'll do a different podcast for that. That was such a tedious and ah, exhausting process, but it was done. I completed it. I have a teacher's license. Um, and then in 2017, so quick story. In 2016, I applied to USC. USC has always been my school that I wanted to go. I remember coming here, passing by. I'm like, I'm gonna go to that university one day. So when I moved over here, I'm like, yes, I want to go there. I applied and I didn't get in. So I want people to know my first application to USC in 2016 was not successful.
I didn't know that.
No one knew that. Only my family maybe. This is the first time I'm sharing this because I
Thank
feel
you
like
so
it can
much.
bring value to someone that tried. And I'm saying it, don't give up. Because the next year I'm like, okay, I'm going to try again. And I tried again and I got in.
Wow.
I applied and I got into their master's program. I did a master's in education in learning design and technology. So I completed that degree in 2019, the August of 2019, and I applied for a position at US, and I got the job, which was a job that I met you in October of 2019. That job just allowed for me to transition into my real purpose, I feel, was supporting and doing training and being a training educator. So, an instructional technologist was my title. And if you want to put it in the educational aspects, but in my department, I was known as the faculty support analyst. I supported faculty. I did faculty training orientation. I supported student workers. So for me, I felt like when you all did screening, I wanted to make sure that you didn't feel as though, oh, I need to know all this tech stuff to be able to do my support. That's why I developed all those training material. I used to have orientation. I used to have different type of communication because I wanted to make sure that we're leveraging and making sure that we're educating our staff properly so that when time arrives, that you guys were ready to support the faculty. At the end of the day, it would have been me that they will be emailing. So aside from that, though, just building relationships with my team, the student workers, I found a passion around. Like I said, a lot of our student workers are international student workers, and so I felt that connection and that need to have been there to support you. I felt like that stage or that time, I'll say that season at USC was a period in my life to develop relationships and support people like yourself.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying like it's good that how you're connecting this to a greater cause, which is like you had mentioned earlier, that God chooses you to be the light through which He can shine, and that's amazing because like your work was just like being a faculty support analyst, but you did so much more by just being there for people, and I think that is something that adds value, right? Like going over and beyond what just your job description asks for to build those extra relationships with students, with coworkers. How did you manage to do that? Do you think it comes naturally to you, or did you practice it over a time?
So I think it comes from experience because in the technology field, I've always been the only female in my department from the time I started my career journey. And I know the pressure of a female being in the IT department, and I didn't want any of my females, especially my females, to feel that. So I was always there. Like I was your, what they call it when you go to the party. I was your bouncer. Let me be the bouncer. I'll defend you because I've been there. And true, to add to that, through doing my doctorate, which I applied for in 2020, when COVID hit, I was like, okay, guess what? I'm gonna be at home. Let me just do something else because I'm not gonna waste any time. And then that was like the May. I got the invitation from Ross there to do it. And I'm like, I don't feel like I want to study anymore. I was done with school. And you know, the June, they emailed me. We extended the deadline, so you can reconsider. And I did apply, and I got in. So I did my
Wow.
doctorate in educational leadership with a focus in leading instructional change back to adult learning because I feel very passionate. I feel like bringing about awareness, fostering critical reflection, being there to support and understand people is so important, especially with so much going on in the world. And I'm hoping to do my final defense before or by the end of September. Then I'll actually be, and then you could call me Dr. Adeline Tatum. But for now,
Yay.
I'm in my final phase of writing my dissertation. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, and the podcast too that you said we'll do it with Dr. Adeline Tatum. But yeah, like your journey has been so relentless in terms of your perseverance because all that I see at all stages of your life is that when life gave you that second chance, you just grabbed it. You grab opportunities and make them to be what you want to do in life. Like that's what I've seen and observed in you. It's not always that opportunities are there and just lying around. You create it for yourself if they are not there. So, would you like to tell students or anyone who's watching, like, what should be their approach with regards to new things that they want to try but are hesitant to? Like you said, you wanted to try that doctorate, but you felt that, oh, I can't study anymore. What was that turning point where you're like, no, I'm going to go for it and give it my all? And then you just don't look back. What's that point for you?
That turning point is actually having the self talk with yourself because fear will always keep us down and help us to say no, no, no. But sometimes no is good. But when it comes to your own personal development or what you want to do and how you want to thrive in this world and in this life, you have to start saying yes, 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 yes to yourself and no, 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 no to other people. So quiet your mind of saying no to yourself and start saying yes to yourself. So cut out that fear. It's just fear. We're
Yeah.
fearful. We don't want to take risks. So take the risk. Fall down. Get back up. Okay?
Yeah.
It's fine. And if you feel like when you fall, oh, I can't get up, reach out to someone. They'll help you to get up. There's always a way. I've learned that through my life, through my journey. Um, in my family, like I said, it's seven of us, six of us. And I am the only one that actually pursued higher than an associate degree. But all of us had the same opportunity. So you see the difference? And for me, it's just being able to look at your life and say, this is about me. If you choose not to go, that's fine. I respect that. But know what you want in your life. And if that's what you want, quiet your mind, shut out the fear, and talk to the fear like, hell no, I'm doing this. You can sit on the sideline and watch me. That's how you gotta do it. You gotta have those self talk. And not all self talks are crazy. If you come from where I'm from, people think you're crazy if you talk to yourself. No, it's not. You'll be fine. Talk to yourself. And
Yeah.
for me, it's just being able to look at your life and say, this is about me. If you choose not to go, that's fine. I respect that. But know what you want in your life. And if that's what you want, quiet your mind, shut out the fear, and talk to the fear like, oh no, I'm doing this. You can sit on the sideline and watch me. That's how you gotta do it. You gotta have those self talk. And not all self talks are crazy. If you come from where I'm from, people think you're crazy if you talk to yourself. No, it's not. You'll be fine. Talk to yourself.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's such good advice because I also know that you do counseling for people and you're really good at it. And all the advice that you just gave here comes from so much of experience because it is important, right? Like, whenever you're making a decision that's going to have so many changes in your life, you're like, do I really want that? I'm happy in my comfort zone. I'm just happy being myself and not, doing 100 other things that are going to come with it, which I don't know or I'm unprepared for. But at times, just going for it will make the difference. And like you said, that you grab the opportunity to pursue a higher ed. All of your five other siblings had the same opportunity, same things given to them, but they chose something else for themselves. And I mean, they might or might not regret it, but it's just that you made it into something that worked the best for you. So that is what like everyone should focus on doing.
That's right. I totally agree. We have to step out of our comfort zone and know what will be best for you. Do what's best for you. Find the support, find the systems that work for you, find the people that work for you. Now we have LinkedIn, now we have Instagram, now we have Facebook, right? We have a lot of resources. Now you guys have us. Reach out to us. I will help. I'm on all the socials. Feel free to hit me up. If I can help, I will let you know. If I can't, I'll say I don't know, but give me a minute, I'll ask someone. I've created such a wide network of people. Shout out to my Hepma family. Um, they have been great in supporting me along this journey. So for me, whoever I can support along this journey, my USC Trojan family, because I'll always be a Trojan. Come on now, I graduate not because I moved and enjoying my UCLA family now and having a great time over there means that I forget about where I built a foundation to move on. So in life, I feel like every season of your life um, builds you up and gives you the foundation so that you can go higher, go to a new dimension. So that's how I feel. That's what I see happening because I needed the experience at USC to be able to do a better job at UCLA now.
Yes, and totally. So, like you said, that USC was a significant part of your life and shaped some crucial years when you were learning, and now it has helped you to perform better and give it your all at UCLA. So, would you like to tell us like what is UCLA like? What are you doing there? And I know it's just been 2 or 3 months, but I'm sure that you've had a lot of experiences. So, please share it with us.
Sure. So I'm at UCLA now. I am the AVIT training coordinator within the ITS Digital Spaces Services. And it's actually a month and a half almost that I've been there. We are basically doing a similar but a bigger project at UCLA that we did at USC because I was hired there as a part of the digital transformation at USC. Now at UCLA, they're doing a reimagined digital transformation. So basically, I am in the first stage of, well, not the first, but I'm at the beginning of this whole reimagined digital transformation. And we're actually building the foundation now, right? We're actually probably at layer four, I would say, maybe, or something between three and four. And I'm in the process, I'll speak for my position, whereby I am building relationships, building networks, supporting my department in going to conferences, being an ally. I am also meeting with the Teaching and Learning Center because I will have to deal with faculty. I will have to train them how to use the technology. So UCLA is a little bit different because it's a public institution from USC. So I need to make sure that I am engaged. I have to make sure that I have been building relationships. At USC, there wasn't union. At UCLA, there are unions, more power over there. So you have to know how to balance the power dynamic. I don't want to be in the middle of it, so I prefer to build that relationship. So that guess what? I have to make sure that my faculty is comfortable. When I show them the space, showing them how to use the technology, I don't get as much pushback. Of course, we'll get pushback. This is life. There will be some people that will be uncomfortable. But again, it's about nurturing and how to get them out of that comfort zone. So that's what I'm building because the project is expected to be completed like in 2 years. Um, so right now I'm networking. So that's basically my position right now and what I see going forward before we really get into the building the resources, doing the training, hiring the networkers. I am not going to be hiring like I did at USC, but I'll be a part of building of the resources and the training.
Yeah, and like from what I understand, you're laying like some really deep foundation for the big things that are to come at UCLA. So kudos to you for like doing such great things, and you're just 1.5 months into the job, but look at you go. And I also want to share that it was such a big coincidence that both of us had the same joining date for our new full-time jobs that we acquired. So yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. And a part of also what we're doing, we're preparing. I know the Olympics, the Olympics just finished. We are going to have Olympic here at UCLA in 2028.
Oh.
So that's a big thing. Like that's huge. So
Yeah.
that's something else that we have to be very prepared for.
Yeah, and you'll get to like, witness it happening in UCLA, and it's going to be so much fun because 28 Olympics are happening in LA.
Yeah, we're getting ready. But yes, I definitely feel the love and, like you said, the gratitude and appreciation that we both look at that. Like we both started on the same day. It was just so mind blowing when you told me. And even how we connected, like through networking, right? Like it's just amazing when you network and you know people. It's just amazing how things can just move so quickly. But yes, I definitely feel the love and, like you said, the gratitude and appreciation that we both look at that. Like we both started on the same day. It was just so mind blowing when you told me. And even how we connected, like through networking, right? Like it's just amazing when you network and you know people. It's just amazing how things can just move so quickly.
Yeah, and I know that even like my first Thanksgiving in the US was spent at your house. It felt so good because I didn't know what Thanksgiving was. I didn't know like anyone in the US who could invite me over for Thanksgiving. But then there comes Adeline. She calls me home for Thanksgiving. She's like, take some cake. And we say prayer on the dinner table. So I think those are the memories I'm never going to forget because those were like my initial years here, and I'll always hold them really close to my heart. So thank you, Adeline, for like being a part of those memories for me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. And I had invited other people prior to you too. So it's just that during Thanksgiving, people do different things. So I'm grateful that you were able to come over to my house and just see how we celebrate it. And along with, like you said, just building. But that goes back as well to the work ethic within the space that I felt comfortable to have you come to my home, to invite all of you to my home. For me, it goes back to building that relationship with your team, you know? At the end of the day, that's how I felt. I felt like we were all just a big family. That's how I
Yeah.
felt. I didn't feel like we were employees or colleagues. I felt like we were a family.
Yeah, and since you said that you need to balance so much stuff like at UCLA to make sure that you don't want to, find yourself in the middle of some complicated situations, I want to know like you have given it your all in your professional life, and doing that can often take a toll at times on your personal life. So, how did you manage things in your personal life, like your family, your daughter, and everything else along with such a stellar academic and professional journey?
Great question. It was a challenge, but I think setting the boundaries and just being able to communicate with family and friends and letting them know what your priority is, what your goal is, was a big help for me. I used to do every Sunday when I was doing my master's. So family was used to that, knowing that every Sunday you can't have Adeline. If you want to have Adeline, you have to book 2 weeks in advance because then I'll adjust some things, right? But you need to give me 2 weeks notice unless it's a real emergency, last minute. I'll make the twist and turn. Outside of that, so that was clear. So when I did my doctorate, they were so used to it because I only took like a year break. They were like, okay, back to the old Adeline, no Sundays. They actually said that. I'm like, yep, no Sundays. You need to get 2 weeks notice. So that was one thing. And then I must say my boyfriend was very supportive. He was so supportive. So he always understood how that goes. And I explained the same thing, communication, back to communication. I just feel like everything about communication and being clear and letting people understand. This is not to be personal, but a little bit personal because it's about me. And I'm okay if you get mad. It's okay. But this is what I gotta do so I could be finished. Or this is what I gotta do so I could be better. Or you can also let them know these are my boundaries. I'm trying to be a better person. So I have to educate myself and this is how it works.
Yeah,
And
and
that's how I balanced it. Like that was my thing, just having boundaries.
yeah, and like you said, that no Adeline Sundays thing, it's so true because I've heard so many like really successful people say that once you become very successful and have those busy schedules, all you got to say is start saying no more, because you have to set that boundary, or else you'll be dragged into things and will be asked to devote your time to places that don't necessarily have to be done at the cost of your betterment, or somewhere where you could have just sat and done your paper which was due tomorrow, you go and hang out at a party which is not needed. So yeah, those are some internal sacrifices that you have to make, but then when you look back on them, it just is all worth it because you are somewhere and you've achieved great things.
So true. And yes, sometimes you'll feel in the beginning when you get started like, oh no, I'm supposed to do this. Like, but you gotta discipline yourself. A part of my discipline, I'll be open and honest, was throughout the week I prayed over it because the beginning it wasn't easy. Like, I need to sit here, I need to read all these different chapters. I need to finish so I can finish my paper tonight. It's due tonight. Like, and I didn't get one chapter. I used to get six, seven, 10 chapters to read. So also during the week, I started to read one chapter a night before I go to bed. So I'm prepared to write on Sunday. So it got a little bit less as I proceeded, right? But yeah, it's about that. It's all about discipline yourself, doing whatever devotion, whatever keeps your mind and your mental health grounded so that you can be prepared that when you sit and ready to write or ready to study or write that program or whatever you're doing, you are in the right mindset.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, to be able to physically, contribute to a task of like just sitting and being attentive, you need to also prepare yourself mentally and like set that discipline for yourself, which can happen by just making small steps every day of just like sitting for maybe 5 minutes, then
Hmm.
10, and then eventually an hour. And like
Hmm.
breaking down your huge tasks into smaller chunks is going to be so helpful because you won't even realize, but you would have covered so much by the end of year. So, and I'd read a beautiful book on that, which is called the Atomic Habits, which says that even if you bring like 0.1% change daily, it compounds and becomes a certain percentage at the end of the year, which is highly significant. So, yeah, I really love that advice. And also, I know that you're a lot into building community, helping them. So, would you like to tell us about the most recent initiative that you're associated with? And yeah, I'll just hand it over to you to tell us more.
Yeah, so I do have a Worthy Institute. It's called Worthy Daughters. This is an initiative that I have been doing now for about 5 years. Um, it started when my daughter moved back home to do 11th and 12th grade, and then COVID hit, and her friends. So here in America, I must say, like, um, my daughter, I experienced her, she were much more advanced, despite in the least. To me, the high school standards are better than America. So when she went back there, she was a little bit more mature than the other students, her friends, her classmates, and there were a lot of them going through depression, suicidal situations. So I told her, okay, let's form a group with your friends, grab a few of them, because she used to come and talk to me like we call each other FaceTime. I mean, thanks to, what is it called? The iPhone. So cut that out. Thanks to iPhone. Um, we used to FaceTime and she'll be like, Mom, such and such. I'm like, what you do? What have you done to help that person? And she will be like, I pray with them. I'm like, okay, we're good. I talk to them, but can you help? I think they listen more if you're. So I started, I didn't give advice because I'm not a therapist, but I would have like conversation with them. And then I was like, maybe I just form a group. We'll do WhatsApp. And we just talk and you guys could throw stuff in there. And then we started doing like challenges. And the girls, it's mostly girls because it's worthy daughters. Because I wanted them to understand their worth. I wanted them to know that they were enough, despite whatever challenge, despite whatever ethnicity, despite whatever background you come from. You're worthy. You're here for a purpose. And so that's how I came up with the name. um, we read a book called Your Worthy, and that's where I got it from. And so that's the initiative right now. It's just growing little by little. I'm hoping for one day to turn it into a nonprofit in Belize, and it's gonna be called Worthy Institute. So anyone listening out there, and you want to be a donor, so we could take this to another level, hit me up. My goal is to help girls, I want to do a mentorship program for teachers because as a professional, as an educator, it's important in belief. And also, I want to help men. I feel like men silence their emotions, and a lot of them, if you do the research, if you do the study, you'll see have been committing suicide because for some reason men are told that they can't cry. That's a lie. You have emotion just like myself, just like Shreya. You cry if you need to cry. That's how I take it. So that's what my goal is. I know they say you should keep certain things to yourself, but I'm open. I feel the need and I feel what's for me is for me, and I will just fly with it.
Yeah, and I'm going to put Adeline's different social media handles in the description below. So anyone who wants to hit her up, because she keeps coming up with such wonderful initiatives. And if anyone wants to contribute or, have a small uh, mark of their own on this big change that she is trying to drive in this world, then please hit her up and feel free to, reach her on her different social media handles. Also, Adeline, I wanted to know from you, like you said so many important things, and I feel like all of them are like big, deep things in themselves. But I just want to know from you, like, what are the 3 or 4 advices that you would give any international student who is coming to the US? And I mean, it can be more than that too, but yeah, like whatever are your key things, like you said, you are worthy. I don't know if you have some key things that could help our listeners, because this is mainly for the international student. We call this particular podcast the International Student Diaries. So we're going to discuss about whatever will help them to come here and have that smooth transition into a life here.
Always be open to reaching out to other people, like other students within whatever university you're going to go to. Find there is definitely a community within your university that you're going. So don't be afraid to ask your advisor, to ask within the community who is within your whatever your circle of friends culture that you're looking at. So that's the first thing. Make sure you find people that will support you. Outside, the second advice would be come with an open mind, very open, because you don't know what's gonna happen, right? The third advice would be give yourself grace. And when I say give yourself grace, be gentle with yourself. Don't feel like because you came and oh, you didn't know that I needed a credit card, or oh, I didn't know I needed a bed in my room. Be all harsh and get all upset and get frustrated. It's normal. Your friend might have a couch, or you put a mattress on the floor. You'll be fine as long as you're in somewhere safe. Okay? It's the reality of life. Don't everything doesn't need to be perfect when you get here. If it can, that's good. If it can't, no worries, you'll get there. My fourth advice would be when you're at your institution, if you're looking for work study or work jobs, employment, always try and see again, tap into people that are within that department that you would like to be in because they can reference you. Me working within that space, we always prefer a reference. It's good to have someone refer you. Okay? So if you can do that, always do that. And I guess my fifth advice is just reach out if you need some help.
Wow, those were like mind-blowing advices. Thank you so much, Adeline, for like coming on the podcast today and sharing so many beautiful tips of navigating life as an international student. I really appreciate you coming here and sparing this 1 hour for me.
Thank you, Shreya, for having me. And thank you, everybody. If you didn't know Shreya, call me her American mom. And anyone else that would like that, I could be your American friend, I could be your American mom, your American auntie, whatever. I am here. Just reach out.
Yup, I do call Adeline my second mom, because since I've come here, I know that if I'm in any problem, I can just dial her. And if, not anything else, she's just going to be there for me. And that's what you need in such moments. So I'm so happy you said that, Adeline. I'm going to put all the links down below, and people feel free to reach out, because, like Adeline said, don't be afraid to ask. You just gotta be open minded and do things that you have to do.
That's it. Just ask. Just ask, and you will be great. Fight on.
Fight on. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through Adeline's incredible story. If you found this episode to be as valuable and insightful as I did, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support goes a long way in helping us bring many more powerful stories.